everyone. My name is Senator Omar Fateh, representing Senate District 62, South Minneapolis. I'm also here as the chair of the Higher Education Committee with advocates and my fellow legislators. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to listen to our goal of having tuition-free public colleges and universities. And we're here to introduce the bill, which will be first heard in our committee this afternoon. A few facts about the bill. It'll be a tuition-free college bill that will allow each eligible student to receive an award to cover the total cost of their attendance. So that would include their tuition. We've heard from students about the struggles with food insecurity and books and other college expenses. So we're hoping that this bill will cover that as well. Students receiving federal Pell Grants will also have the amount of their Pell Award matched with additional state aid to help cover those basic needs. Many lower income students who have already had the cost of college covered through a combination of grants and scholarships, but still struggle with those non-tuition related things are the ones that are going to be mostly addressed in this bill. The program will be effective fall 2024 with nearly 59,000 students receiving an award. That includes 32,000 in Min-State two-year colleges, 13,000 Minnesotans at our state 4 years, and 13,000 at the University of Minnesota institutions. And over half of the students that will be benefiting from this have a family adjusted income of less than $40,000. And with this bill, we're hoping to tackle the challenges that we're facing that you can see right here. First, closing the equity gaps, boosting enrollment, as well as helping meet our state's workforce goals. And you're going to hear from our different legislators on each of those topics. As the chair, I've heard countless stories from students who are struggling with student debt and struggling with their academic careers. And also I've received countless emails from faculty members, from administrators talking about the issues of budget cuts, as well as what the declining enrollment, what that impact has had on them, including layoffs that are going to start happening if we don't act. We've seen across the state, whether it's urban, rural, suburban, declining enrollment, 15, 20, 30, 40%. That's across the board. And right now we are really in a crisis. I would say we're in an emergency. But with that, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to turn the ship around. We have an opportunity to meet the needs of our students. And with this increase in enrollment, we're going to hopefully see our other state goals being addressed with this as well, in which you'll be hearing from our other legislators. So once again, I want to thank you all. And with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague and chair of the House side Higher Education Committee, Representative Gene Pawlowski.
Thank you, Senator. I'm Representative Gene Pawlowski. This will be the third time in 3 decades I've chaired the Higher Education, Finance, and Policy Committee, and each time we in the Min-State system. But we have a different crisis this session. I have on the table the enrollment for both the University of Minnesota and its campuses and the Min-State system and its campuses for the last 10 years, and it is universally negative. Universally negative to the point where sustainability now is the big issue. We have underinvested higher education. We have termed tuition increases state revenue. Tuition increases are not state revenue. They are a tax we place on a select group of people, and then they have to pay that tax off for decades afterwards with student debt. So I'll repeat it. Tuition increases are not state revenue, they are a tax. And those declining enrollment numbers show that we have taxed that population to the max, and they're simply not going to take it anymore. So we have to make the investment we should have made a decade ago and more. And in the House, we're focusing, just like the Senator has said, on ensuring that Tuition should be frozen, and there should be a massive investment across the public and private sectors to restore eligibility, accessibility to our higher education systems. We desperately need trained employees. The source is higher education. So I'm going to repeat it one more time. Increasing tuition is not state revenue. It's a tax. It's time to stop the tax. Oops. I'm sorry. Next is Senator Scott Dibble. I got lost in my own speech.
I'm State Senator Scott Dibble, Senate District 61, representing most of Southwest, a little bit of South and downtown Minneapolis, a little bit of North Minneapolis, too. Thank you so much, Senator Fateh and Representative Pawlowski. This is really, really an exciting initiative. Minnesota has this paradox in this moment. The crisis that Representative Pawlowski was talking about is compared with, paired with the fact that so many of our employers and professions are having a hard time finding people to employ. We have so many people who need opportunity, not the least of which, of course, are BIPOC Minnesotans. 38% of Black Minnesotans, 25 to 44, have graduated from college. Less than 30% of Hispanic and Indigenous populations. That compares with 70% of white and Asian Minnesotans. So this targeted investment to low-income families will help level the playing field by removing tuition barriers and providing extra support to students in need. And that's really important. There's additional support as well for those whose lives need security and more stability. These disparities also extend to extension rates. Students with incomes in the lowest quartile are 80% more likely to drop out of college than students with incomes in the highest. Black students are 30% more likely to drop out. And of course, financial pressure disproportionately impacts students of color. My own family reflects this enormous pressure that students are under. My niece went back to school, became a teacher. She's a brilliant kindergarten teacher, does a fantastic job in the Minneapolis Public Schools. But because of the student debt that she's trying to repay, she's been a teacher for over 10 years. She still lives with my sister, her mom. She's raising a daughter of her own. I can't imagine a better investment than we can make in the lives and the prosperity and the success of people, especially young people in Minnesota. I can't imagine a better investment that we can make in the shared prosperity and the economy of the state and addressing the crisis of the moment we're in. So again, thank you so much for this incredible initiative, and I'm really proud to be here and be a part of it today, and these incredible advocates who are really giving it voice and making this happen at the state capitol. Next up is my good friend Rob Kupek from Moorhead area.
Great, thanks, Senator Dibble. Rob Kupek, Senate District 4, Moorhead, it's for Clay County, Becker County. We're at a breaking point here. We are at really a crisis in terms of enrollment. And if we do not do something to address this declining enrollment because of increased tuition costs, it's going to be to the point where we're going to have to start talking about which campuses are we going to close in the state. That is how desperate the enrollment situation has become. So undergraduate enrollment has decreased 23% statewide since 2013. This has not been spread evenly across the state. There are lots of other schools that are kind of hitting it more. St. Cloud State has seen a 34% decline. Dakota Technical College, a 40%. They've lost 2,000 students. MCTC, 34% decline. The U of M at Morris, a 45% decline. In my district, Minnesota State University Moorhead has seen a 20% decline. I can tell you, I live near campus. Used to be there were students parking on my street. Nobody parks on my street anymore. The parking lots are about half full. So you can visibly see that decline. And all of these schools have a huge impact on our economy, particularly in Moorhead. And even our technical college, Minnesota State Community Technical College, 35% decline in enrollment. So we are pricing these schools, which have traditionally, particularly the Minnesota state system, has traditionally been that first generation college student. That is where they have gone, and that is now not attainable. So Senator Fateh, Representative Pawlowski, we need a bold move now to save this system, because without this system, the workers and Some of it obviously is the economy. Economy's been good. People have chosen, because tuition is high, to not go to these schools and go to jobs. Some point the economy turns down, and when that happens, they always turn back to increase your education, to get that job for the future. And if we do not protect this infrastructure, this higher education infrastructure for the future, when that happens, there'll be people without a place to go, and then we'll head out of state, and then we will lose that next generation here for staying in Minnesota. So I thank you again for bringing this forward. This is exactly, I think, what we need at this time. Now I turn it over to Senator Eric Putnam.
Well, thanks for being here, everybody. My name's Eric. I represent Senate District 14, which is St. Cloud and some other stuff, that sort of region. I'm also, in my day job, I've been a college professor for 25 years. And I've seen what is happening in our classrooms and what is happening to our institutions. I've seen the stress that students feel. I've seen the pain on my colleagues' faces when they don't know how to help young people deal with that stress, because they don't have the resources to go elsewhere. I've seen class sizes balloon while options decrease. I've seen people take 6 years to graduate instead of 3 or 2. It's impossible what we are doing to our higher education system right now. And I want to phrase that appropriately. This is a choice that we've made. The crisis that Senator Kupek and Representative Pawlowski were just talking about is a crisis of our own making. We have actively decided to disinvest in higher education in the past 30 years. And that means it is both our obligation and our opportunity to solve that problem, to fix that issue. And now is the moment to take care of that. Now we have the resources, we have the will, and we have the awareness of the problem. In greater Minnesota, colleges, universities, schools, they are epicenters of our community. They are the source not just of labor, but of culture, of opportunities, of sports, of reasons to come together. Everywhere in Minnesota needs that, but no place needs it as much as greater Minnesota right now. And keeping those schools alive and active and vibrant is essential for the way of life of all Minnesotans. There's a restaurant in St. Cloud my friend Danella runs. It's called Jules. She struggles so mightily to get people to work in her restaurant. She didn't have that problem 5 years ago, when enrollment was great. We think about the consequences for our workforce. Absolutely, as Senator Dibble mentioned, it is skilled, trained people, but it's also people who are working their way through school. Because, and my friends who are here who are in school right now, you used to be able to do that. That was something you could do a long time ago, is work your way through school and graduate without tremendous debt. That's not an option anymore. We have failed you in that that's the world that you're living in. And the challenges that this is placing, not just on businesses, but on people, are unforgivable. And this is our moment to make progress, to make change, and to make better. So coming up next, we get to hear from some students. First up is Zeke Jackson, who's a University of Minnesota graduate student in University of Minnesota student government.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Zeke Jackson. I am the vice president at the University of Minnesota. And I just want to thank the legislators and advocates that have made this bill happen today. It is absolutely crucial for students here in Minnesota to get an affordable education, especially for those who don't have the financial means to do so. So I'm a Pell Grant recipient. I'm a recipient of Minnesota State Grant. I grew up a single-parent household. My parents are social workers. I have 2 other siblings. And it was made clear to me at a young age that I was expected to pay for college myself if I wanted to go to college. The rising cost of a post-secondary education and the debt that comes along with it is among the top concerns of our generation. Me and Flora, as leaders of the student government, we hear every single year when the University of Minnesota increases its tuitions, the student complaints and the worry and the anxiety that comes along with it. This bill and this advocacy hasn't just happened in a vacuum either. Minnesota itself has a long history of providing accessible higher education to its students, including in the 1980s with some of the nation's first dual credit programs. This bill carries on the spirit of that early advocacy to better enable students to not only reach their full potential through education, but also to make Minnesota a brainpower state. So this bill is not just about helping students afford college, it's also about enabling our youth to pursue their dreams, and that's worth the world. Thank you. So next up, Karina from Minnesota.
So hi everyone, my name is Karina Valeda and I'm the Vice President of Lead Men. We are the statewide student association for community and technical colleges. As a single mother, I want to create a better life for my daughter and I. The free college plan is crucial at providing a ladder out of poverty for me and thousands like myself across the state. When I reflect on the idea of free college education, I cannot help but think about the personal struggles and sacrifices I have endured to achieve higher education. As a parent, I've had to juggle 50-hour work weeks with my studies, often leaving me with limited time to spend with my daughter. I have spent countless nights sleeping, striving for high grades, knowing that my GPA would be a factor in my ability to secure scholarships. Additionally, I've had to stand in long lines at food banks just to save money, all while tuition and textbook costs continue to rise. College is not affordable for Minnesota students. These personal challenges highlights the many barriers that individuals face in obtaining higher education, particularly those with limited financial resources. For far too long, the high cost of education has prevented many individuals from pursuing their dreams of a better future. I have personally waited many years to pursue my college education because of the financial strain it would put on my family and I. I grew up in the shadows of the Capitol, in a community that struggles with overdoses and gun violence, where hope was hard to find and a dream of leaving that behind for a college education is unimaginable to so many. I have seen firsthand how the lack of education can prevent people from achieving their full potential. My parents never had the opportunity of going to college, and they didn't have the resource to help me go to college either. One of my biggest fears is taking on the large amount of student debt. The prospect of free college education gives me the hope that I will not be burdened by student loans for the rest of my life. Relieve me of my fear of having financial strain and negatively impacting my ability to achieve financial milestones such as buying a home, starting a business, or saving for retirement. Free college education is vital to building a better future for our society. It can unlock the potential of countless individuals who have been held back by financial constraints like myself. I am so thankful to these legislators who are working towards making free college education a reality so that future generations can have a real shot at the American dream. Thank you. And next is Jenna from the IFO.
Hello, my name is Jenna Chernega. I am the president of the IFO. We're the union that represents the teaching faculty, coaches, counselors, and librarians at the 7 Min-State universities. Today, our state faces a number of challenges. We have workforce shortages in really critical areas. We need more nurses, more teachers, more engineers, more highly skilled laborers across industries. We also need to diversify our workforce to better represent the beautiful diversity of our state. None of that's going to happen without a robust higher education system. And after 20 years of disinvestment, we have anything but. Our campuses are struggling. We have water dripping into classrooms. We have faculty who are desperately trying to find mental health resources for their students. We have programs that are getting cut, faculty who are losing positions, all in critical areas that our state continues to need to thrive. If we cannot solve the higher education problem in this state, we can't solve those other problems. We are not going to magically create nurses out of thin air. We are not going to magically create the next generation of diverse teachers. We need a robust higher education system that's affordable and attainable to every student in our state in order for our state to thrive. When I first heard about Senator Fateh's plan, I thought this isn't possible. It is not possible to provide free college and university education to all students. But he's made me a believer, and I appreciate his partnership with our great champion, Representative and Chair Jean Pawlowski. This free college plan will not only provide the tuition support that students need to thrive and the growing enrollment that our institutions need to thrive, but it will also provide those key basic needs supports for our most marginalized students, our students who most need them. So thank you very much. The last.
And that was the last of our speakers. I think we'll open it up for questions right now.
Do we know roughly what percentage of the of the U system and the state college system is paid for by the state, for state aid versus tuition and other sources?
I can get that information for you. I don't have it offhand.
I just know that I know it seems like it's a number that's fallen over the years.
Yeah.
So,
Is it-
I can
what do you say?
speak a little
Yeah,
to
speak a little bit.
Mid-State, yeah.
Mid-State, yeah.
Sorry. So at one point, Minnesota supplied 80% of the cost in min-state institutions, the Minnesota State colleges and universities, of educating a student. And that fell to 66%, I believe, in the early 2000s. And then, under a particular governor, there was a series of disinvestments out of both K-12 and higher education, so that now I believe the state appropriation funds a little less than 50% of the cost of running min-state as a system. And students, depending on whether they are college students or university students, are paying between 45 and 60% of the cost of their own educations at this point. There is a bill, or there is a law in place that says that the state should be funding min-state at the 66% level, but it's been many years since we've met that goal.
Thank you, Jenna. And I think a quarter of the University of Minnesota revenue comes from tuition as well.
I have a question. So it seems like more colleges are kind of creating more like need-based programs. So students under whose families make under 100,000 having their tuition covered. Why push for free tuition for everyone instead of like a certain financial need?
Say that one more time, why?
Why push for tuition-free education for everyone as
Yes.
opposed to people who are?
That's a very good question. We've had those discussions. That was actually one of the original goals. We wanted to target the legislation for students that needed the most help. Unfortunately, tuition wasn't the only need that was discussed. They spoke about books, they spoke about food insecurity, they spoke about their mental health, for example. And so we decided to target it. It's going to be for every student from a family with an adjusted gross income of 120,000 or below. And that'll cover about close to 60,000 students. And we think with that, we will see a reverse in the decline in enrollment that we're seeing across the state. These are the students that are right now being blocked or seeing cost as a barrier to going to college.
as far as the public-facing part of this, would the students still just apply for financial aid the way they
Absolutely.
do? And then
Yes.
the university would handle whether they're qualified or not?
Yeah, this will be a last dollar program, and also, yeah, the universities will be able to determine that as well. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like the governor's budget proposal has space for tuition-free higher education right now. How do you plan on making this a reality?
We've been in conversations with the governor's team as well as leadership. They've indicated to us that one of their areas of concern is addressing the workforce needs, right? And I think that this does exactly with that. This is the best proposal to do so. You want? Yeah, go ahead.
Today, the House Higher Education Committee heard both the Min-State full request and the governor's full proposal for higher education. And I asked the system to break it down by campus. So if Min-State got everything it was asking for, approximately $353 million, which includes the tuition freeze, every campus in the state would still have to cut. And I have those figures if you want them. I didn't bring them today, but I can get them for you at your request. Under the governor's proposal, because the governor's proposal, in fact, did not have tuition in it, he thought that he would get 3.5 from the trustees. I said, all right, then just give us the governor's proposal without tuition. And of course, the numbers are dramatically worse. Every campus would have to cut. And some of these cuts are double-digit cuts, 10 million, 11 million. So when you're looking at these budgets, they have been so underfunded for so long that we desperately need to make an investment. It's going to have to come on the student side and on the campus side. And by campus, I mean the individual campuses. We have to look at those.
Any questions? What is the long-term goal? What is like every 4, 6, 8, 10 years, what is the future plan? I mean, for right now, it's an improvement in this bill, in the funding for the schools right now.
Yeah.
What is the future plan as to either grow this, stabilize it, will there be a decrease further on, increase further on? Like, what do you see for the future?
Well, I'd be both going to start first. You can start, go ahead.
Part of the long-term plan, and we had a hearing last Tuesday in the House of the K-12 Finance Committee and the Higher Education Finance Committee with this theme. Every Minnesota high school graduate should have the option of graduating, not just with a diploma, but with an employable skill set. That means we have to relink our two-year higher education schools, community colleges and tech colleges, back to our public education systems. They were once vocational schools. They existed within our K-12 systems, and those students had the ability to graduate with a skill set. That has to be part of this scenario, too.
Yeah, me and Representative Pulaski have had those discussions as well. The ultimate goal is to reverse course on the enrollment, but also making sure that students have the ability to pursue those other options. There are some careers that, no matter how much technology advances, will always be an area of need, like plumbing, HVAC, electricians, so on. And they should be able to pursue those opportunities as well. Any other questions? Thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you.